Most women, in the quiet solitude of their own minds, have held a vision of a love that feels both destined and deeply earned, a bond that doesn't just happen to them, but is a direct reflection of who they are in their most authentic, unedited form. Yet, the reality they often find themselves in is a harsh echo chamber of unfulfilled potential, a series of relationships that feel more like auditions for a role they never wanted to play. They navigate a chaotic marketplace of dating apps and fleeting connections, their emotional wellspring running dry from a constant state of proving their worth. The world tells them to be more, to do more, to hustle harder for a love that should be a reciprocal dance, not a desperate chase. This struggle, this pervasive feeling of being on the outside looking in, is not a flaw in their character. It is the symptom of a modern-day malady, the severance from the most powerful creative force a woman possesses, her own inner world. The world has convinced her to externalize her power, to seek validation from a man, a title, a social standing, but the true alchemical furnace of her life, the one that forges her reality, resides in the untamed landscape of her subconscious mind. Here, within the deep and mysterious waters of her soul, lies the power to not just wish for a man, but to call him forth, to manifest him not through outward pursuit, but through an internal revolution. This is the Jungian path, a journey not of acquisition, but of alignment. It begins not with a desperate search for a partner, but with a descent into the self. It asks a woman to cease her outward striving and instead turn inward, to face the archetypal forces that have been silently shaping her reality. For every woman carries within her a blueprint of her ideal man, what Jung called the Animus. This is not just a fantasy figure, it is a living, breathing part of her own unconscious psyche. The man she desires is a reflection of the unintegrated aspects of herself, her inner strength, her potential for action, her unexpressed truth. And the men she repeatedly attracts, the ones who break her heart and leave her feeling hollow, are often nothing more than the shattered reflections of her own shadow. He is the man who is emotionally unavailable because he mirrors the parts of you that have been unwilling to be truly seen. He is the man who cannot commit because he is the physical manifestation of your own unconscious fear of deep, intimate surrender. The Stoic sages understood this deeply. The external chaos of our lives is a direct consequence of the internal disorder of our minds. Seneca would tell us, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." But what if we could reclaim that imagination, not as a source of fear, but as a tool of creation? What if the same mental processes that conjure up anxiety could be consciously directed to build the life and the love you deserve? This is the practice of active imagination, a term coined by Jung himself. It is a powerful, yet often misunderstood, form of intentional dreaming. It is not about fantasizing a man into existence as if you are some kind of cosmic vending machine. It is about entering into a conscious dialogue with the unintegrated parts of yourself, to understand the emotional and psychological contracts you have been subconsciously signing with the world. It requires the courage to sit in the stillness and ask, who do I need to become to receive the love I truly desire? The answer lies not in changing your appearance or your behavior, but in the radical act of power becoming whole. The man you seek is waiting for you to integrate your own animus, to become the fierce, self-possessed woman who is no longer defined by external approval. To attract a king, a woman must first become the queen of her own kingdom. She must tend to the ruins of her emotional landscape, to face the ghosts of her past, and to do the difficult, messy work of shadow integration. This means embracing the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide or disown: your anger, your hunger for power, your unapologetic ambition. Because until you can hold all of yourself, a man cannot fully hold you. He will only ever be able to mirror the parts of you that you have given permission to see the light of day. And the rest of your truth, the unacknowledged darkness and brilliant fire, will remain a ghost in the machine, sabotaging every genuine connection. Imagine this as an internal alchemy, a solitary and sacred work. You are the alchemist, and the raw materials are your unexamined fears, your hidden shames, and the deeply buried beliefs about love and men that you absorbed from a culture that values transaction over transformation. This is not about fixing yourself, It is about excavating your true self from under the rubble of societal expectations and past disappointments. The process is not linear. It is a spiral, a series of descents and ascents, each bringing you closer to the core of your own sovereign being. The first step in this sacred work is not to seek a man, but to seek the truth of your own relationships with men, starting from the beginning. Look back at the men who have shaped you, your father, your first love, the man who left you, the one you could never get to commit. They are not random characters in your story. They are living mirrors, each one reflecting a part of your own unresolved inner landscape. The man who was cold and distant, he was a brutal reflection of your own emotional defenses, your fear of vulnerability. The man who never saw you, he was the physical manifestation of your own self-invisibility. The men who took and never gave back, they were the living proof of your own unconscious belief that you were not worthy of reciprocity. This is the hard, unglamorous work of true self-mastery. It is the Stoic courage to look at the wreckage of your past and say, I am the one who created this, not by desiring it, but by allowing my unexamined inner world to dictate my external reality. Marcus Aurelius would have you understand that the events themselves are not what cause your suffering, but your judgment of them. And your judgment, your perception, is the only thing you truly have power over. To change the men who appear in your life, you must first change the inner landscape from which they are summoned. The second step is a deeper dive into active imagination. Do not sit and daydream about a perfect man with a list of perfect qualities. Instead, turn inward and find the unhealed wound. Find the ache of loneliness that makes you reach for validation. Find the terror of abandonment that causes you to cling. And then, in your mind's eye, give that feeling a form. Personify it. Is it a lost child wandering in a desert? A chained maiden in a tower? A fierce, silent warrior with a broken sword? Do not judge the image. Simply observe it. Then, begin a dialogue with it. Ask it what it needs. What is it afraid of? Why has it been holding on for so long? This isn't make-believe. This is a profound act of psychological integration, a way of giving a voice to the parts of you that have been silenced by shame and pain. The lost child needs a guide, not a savior. The maiden needs to find her own key, not wait for a prince. The warrior needs to learn to heal, not just fight. As you engage in this inner conversation, you are not only healing yourself, you are also beginning to integrate your animus, the powerful inner masculine that is meant to be a source of strength and protection, not something you seek to project onto an external man. The men you attract will no longer be placeholders for your own missing parts. They will become partners on an equal journey, drawn to the radiant wholeness you have cultivated within yourself. This is the essence of true feminine power. It is not aggressive or controlling. It is a quiet, magnetic force, a gravitational pull that comes from being so deeply rooted in your own truth that you don't need to chase anyone. Seneca's wisdom rings true. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Your trials, your heartbreaks, your moments of weakness were not for naught. They were the friction, the very grit that will one day polish you into an unbreakable, luminous gem. And the man who is worthy of that light will not need to be pursued. He will simply find himself drawn to its warmth, recognizing in you the very wholeness he seeks to cultivate within himself. Now, here we stand at the threshold of the most profound shift. The moment you begin to understand that attraction is not something you do, but something you embody. It is a frequency you broadcast from the very center of your being. This is the ultimate lesson of Stoicism and Jungian depth psychology combined. That true power comes from within. It is not about controlling the man, but about mastering the self. The woman who has begun this inner work of active imagination starts to move through the world with a new kind of gravity. Her energy shifts from a needy, seeking current to a magnetic, self-contained stillness. She no longer feels the frantic need to prove her worth on a first date, to perform a certain kind of femininity, or to anxiously check her phone for a message that may never come. Her mind is no longer a chaotic circus of what-ifs and did I say the right thing, because she has cultivated an inner peace that cannot be shaken by the actions of an external man. She has done the painful, honest work of facing her own shadow and integrating her own animus, So the desire for a man to complete her has faded. He is no longer an end in himself, but a potential partner in the grand unfolding journey of her life. This newfound emotional sovereignty is a direct result of her psychological labor. She has learned, through her quiet, internal dialogues, that the void she once sought to fill with external validation is actually a rich, fertile space within her own soul. The fear of being alone no longer holds her captive because she has befriended her own solitude. She has discovered that her own company is a sanctuary, not a prison. This is the point where the universe begins to respond to a different kind of signal. The men who were once drawn to her neediness, to the unconscious contract of a woman who was willing to accept crumbs, begin to fall away. They cannot resonate with this new, powerful frequency. She is no longer a mirror for their unhealed wounds. She is a lighthouse, and only the ships with the same intention will dare to sail toward her. And the men who do appear are different. They are not drawn to her as a savior or a project, but as a sovereign equal. They are drawn to the depth in her eyes, to the quiet confidence that radiates from her stillness. She does not need to chase them because her very being is an invitation. She does not need to manipulate or strategize because her authenticity is the most powerful form of magnetism. She is not a woman who needs a man to define her worth. She is a woman who already knows her worth, and in that knowing, she has become a force of nature. She understands that the relationship she seeks is not something to be found, but something to be created. It is a shared landscape, a conscious co-creation between two whole, self-possessed individuals. This is the difference between a love born of need and a love born of desire. Need clings and suffocates. Desire, however, is a force of expansion. It calls to a partner who wishes to expand with you, not to shrink you down to fit into his life. This is the final culmination of her work. She has become her own hero, her own healer, her own inner guide. She has made peace with her past, befriended her shadows, and integrated her internal masculine and feminine energies. She no longer seeks a man to make her happy because she has taken full responsibility for her own joy. And in this state of profound self-possession, the universe, in its infinite wisdom, responds. Not by giving her the man she thought she wanted, but by bringing her the man she has spent her entire life becoming. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.